Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Unpopular Honesty, the home of brutal honesty and real hip hop music. I am Kornbread Capone, sitting here with my brother Tuck. What's going on, man?
What's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey,
Chilling.
we got a nice strong topic today. Thought I'd
Oh
stop in
yeah.
on this one.
Oh yeah, man. Because I would love to hear your perspective. This question has been going around for a little while. Is hip hop destroying the black community?
Is it?
Is it? Hmm.
what
Well,
it
one would say if you are influenced by hip hop of today and you will follow the hip hop that comes out today, well, let me just be real frank about it. Those purists of the hip hop culture, like myself, would not consider today's music hip hop for one. So they would say that if you would follow the music of today to a T, you would probably end up in a jail cell or a gravesite based off the fact that there's no positivity, there's no peace, there's no messages of upward progression, there's no messages of doing better in life associated with today's music. It's only the negative. And hey, if you feed a person negative, you wouldn't expect them to come out positive now, would you? Or if you program them to be negative, you wouldn't expect a positive outcome now, would you? Maybe this is an agenda that is being pushed. And that's what I feel. Feel like the agenda is being pushed to be as much of a degenerate as possible. And they want to make sure that there's no such thing as a positive representation of black culture. That's one way to look at
that's definitely one way to look at it. That's
it.
definitely one way to look at it, man. Who do how do you think that perspective permeated throughout, hip hop and throughout the black community? Like, why is that even a question to pose? I mean, do we have evidence that that's occurring? Do we have evidence for that? That the black that hip hop is destroying the black community? Do we have some evidence of that? Can we tie in what artists are saying
um,
with what's going on and what's happening in the streets?
I believe if you look at certain statistics, that will lead you. I mean, but I was just thinking about those statistics, and some of those statistics were around before this question became a topic of conversation. Let's just be fair. Let's just be
Okay.
fair about it. Okay, but now there are certain statistics that feed into this narrative in which we are speaking of because, and this is only from what I've seen, observation, statistics and what people tally up is one thing, but when you're out there and you're observing it, it's a whole nother. You get to see it up close and personal. Um, like I said, when we were young, um, it was impossible to embody the look of your favorite rapper because those clothes wasn't available to us. There was no internet for us to get those clothes. Uh, we wasn't trying to wear our hair like our favorite rappers. It wasn't that type of thing. It was like, okay, if we liked it, and we left it at that. That was our music, that was our entertainment, that's what we listened to, but it didn't dictate our lives. It didn't make us act out or do certain things based off what we were listening to. Now, today, I would say it's a whole different because as a man, like when I made
I'm,
certain decisions,
I'm gonna
like
I'm gonna raise my hand on that one.
I'm gonna say
And
this. I'm gonna be honest and I'm gonna
and
be
I and I
transparent.
think and I
I
think
made a
and I think
decision.
some other guys could raise their hand too if they was honest, but I don't know. I don't know if that was rap influencing me or my environment influencing me. I don't know if that's nature or or if that's nurture. You know what I mean?
I,
So to interrupt you, forgive me for the interruption, but I don't. That's that's something I got to ponder on. Was I overly influenced by the music I was listening to? Was it the suggestions that I got from Tupac, that I got from Biggie, that I got from uh, the Ghetto Boys and anybody else, you want to go down the line. You know, did any of the words that they say make me go out and do some of the things I did? Full disclosure,
I had to think about that
I'm a
myself.
hood nerd,
I had to think about that myself. But the decisions I made them because I wanted to make them. I didn't make them because of the music I was listening to. And I can speak for myself, honestly. I made some decisions to do some wild things in my youth and when I was young. But it wasn't made based off what I was listening to. It was made based off of me. I made those decisions on my own. And I can hold myself accountable and say, you know what? I made a decision to do that, because I could have made a decision to do something different, but it wasn't influenced or coerced by the music that I was listening to. It wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And back then, I could say that, my peer group of friends, music didn't dictate our life like that. Not like it does these youngsters today. These youngsters today, they are the full embodiment of everything that they listen to, even from something as simple as what they call themselves on social media. It could be another man's name.
Let me ask you a
That's
question.
a real issue.
Let me ask you a question. You know, in the world we live in today, science, there's a lot of science out there, right? And these scientists, that out here in the world, have come across some very advanced knowledge and are doing some very advanced things. I just want to maybe pose some different questions pertaining to this topic, right?
Okay.
Because we're saying, can music, let's forget the fact that it's hip hop. Let's just talk about the fact that it's music, right? That it is sound that you're listening to. When you break it down on the basic, on the basic level, we're talking about sound. We're talking about the vibration of air. We're talking about being able to hear something, these vibrations tickling our ears, right? And then sending that transmission to our brain, right? Creating a sound, right? That's like the basic level of listening to anything, right? Well, out here, the scientists are saying that when you introduce a particular sound or a particular phrase or a particular melody or let's say some type of chant, right? That if you present this to a person continuously over and over again, that this can have an effect on their brain, right? An effect to the point to where we might even use the term brainwashing. Okay, can we dig a little bit deeper on that term brainwashing?
Well,
So let me since I posed that term, let me say this. Okay, let's define it because I just pulled it up here real quick because I was just curious what the literal definition of brainwashing was. So I'm checking this out, and it says the process. I'm just looking at Oxford languages definitions from Oxford languages. Brainwashing on Google says The process of pressuring someone into adopting radically different beliefs by using systematic and often forcible means, right? I'm gonna read that one more time, just for the audience, right? Because I like to break things down just a little bit, because I want to know the science of the thing. The process of pressuring, right, someone into adopting, right, radically different beliefs, radically different from what would typically be done, beliefs, what you believe in, by using systematic, right, over and over again, or there's some type of mechanism by which something is a process is repeated over and over again, right? So we talking, that's what systematic is, right? And we can go in and break down systematic and often enforceable means. So sometimes it's saying you can be brainwashed by force as well, right?
Right.
An example of that would probably be what you see, you see the spy movies, and they got the bag tied around his head, and they pour water on him, the waterboarding, or even on Saw, right? You see the Saw movie, and they got the dude eyes pinned open, and you know what I'm saying, and he got to look at the images for hours and hours, right? So that type of thing, that's forcible brainwashing, right?
Right.
So we got pressuring, and we got forcible, and we got systematic. Those are three different types of brainwashing that can occur, right? So
Right.
what do you think about that?
I think that what you're saying makes sense because systematically there have been things that have been setting black people behind for ages. And those things, those systematic plans are still in play, like the prison system and like the workforce industry. And
Right.
then you have the force, what you're talking about. And what I feel is the force is the images that they put on us through television and through the radio, always pumping. The radio, you turn on the radio now, it's nothing but negativity every day, all day, 24/7, 365. And if you turn on television, depending on what your television programming is, it could be the detrimental television programming that could impose on this brainwashing that we're speaking of. And then, what's the last one that you said? You said it's systematic, it's force, and then it's what?
So pressuring, systematic, and forcible.
Okay. The pressuring. Uh I see the pressuring because it's people in this world, believe it or not. Everybody does not conform to the ways of society. Everybody does not conform to these new modern ways of life, modern television, modern music, modern dress code. There are people in this world who do not walk the same way as society does, and they see that this is a plan, this is a plot, this is an agenda that is being pushed. This is something set in place to set black people back, and they don't want no parts of it. And I'm glad to say that I represent the people who don't want no parts of it. You know what I'm saying? So the pressuring comes in because you have people in these groups who they like what they like, and everybody likes what they like. And they see someone who probably doesn't like what they like and they ostracize them for it. I know you hear a lot of women criticize other women based off the way they choose to live their life. They call them pick me's, they call them pick meshas. That's just another term of disrespect towards women who choose to be traditional. And then usually that comes from a woman who is modern. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's that pressuring. It's all the same thing. And I agree with
Well,
everything you said.
I'm just posing questions here. I'm just trying to get down to to the bottom, to the nitty gritty of the question. I'm just wondering if this whole brainwashing thing is a part of this, because sometimes, if we're wondering whether or not hip hop is destroying the black community, then in order for music, some type of entertainment, what you would perceive initially as entertainment, if something that is almost an inanimate object, now don't get it twisted, sound does have matter. Sound is matter, which makes it a real physical thing. Okay, it's in the world that we live in. It is 3D, and it can be measured. So if we're saying that sound, if they're saying that hip hop or sound or music is affecting people to the point where they would want to go out and act on these different things, then we must be talking about brainwashing. So if we're talking about brainwashing, then is hip hop brainwashing our people? Does it have the ability to brainwash? If it's not, does it have the ability to brainwash people? Are some people susceptible to the brainwashing if there's brainwashing going on, and others not susceptible to the brainwashing? It's just more questions that I would have to ask, on the topic, because my thing is if they're saying that continual systematic consumption of this music can cause you to act on it, then are we also saying that country music make you want to drink more?
One could say that, because one part of country is, heartbrokenness, and people who are heartbroken usually would lean on a bottle of alcohol in a moment of heartbrokenness. And one could apply the same thing for heavy metal, because I remember before the conversation turned to rap, it was, is heavy metal influencing people to do weird things based off the connections to serial killers such as Charles Manson and other people who like rock and roll and Helter Skelter and all that wild stuff that they were talking about in
Killer
rock and roll at one
Clown,
point.
Killer
Yeah,
Clown
all
Posse, and all that stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so, and they said the same thing about those genres of music, but I guess because it's rap, and this conversation pretty much been going on since the 90s, since we were teenagers. If you remember when we were teenagers, it was Dionne Warwick, C. Dolores Tucker talking about his rap dangerous for youth at that time. And this is the rap that we hold on near and dear because it's classic and it's our era. But like I said, that music didn't influence me to do anything that I didn't want to do myself anyway, because eventually I made the decisions to do what I wanted to do, and it wasn't based off music. Today, I see more and more, not just youth, including some people within our age group, who are making decisions based off of, I'm not going to say music, I'm going to say society, the way society is going, the way things are going. People are making certain decisions to live certain ways based off of society. And I don't feel like that's cool. I feel like everybody should have a mind of their own. But that's not commonplace in 2024,
No,
unfortunately.
no. I sit and I think about the environment that we grew up in. When we were growing up in Beaumont, Texas, uh, I think I recall at some point in time our town being on high up on the murder capital list. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for the whole country, and we're talking about a city that doesn't even have 500,000 people in it. Okay.
Right.
So we're talking about, a small population of people being engulfed by violence, right? And when you're in a small population and you're engulfed by violence, uh, you can look left, and see somebody helping an old lady across the street, and then look right and seeing somebody hit an old lady in the head and take her purse, right?
Right.
So, coming up in that environment, coming up in a culture, right? And let's. I think we need to, start spending a little bit of time talking about culture, how culture is, what culture is, how culture is created, especially in the quote unquote black community. I refer to our people as indigenous. Uh, I think that is a more appropriate term to use for a group of people who have been, you know, systematically around the globe, um, murdered and enslaved in our whole history, scrambled up and burnt and stolen and sold off, so a lot of us don't realize that we're indigenous people, but um, a lot of the indigenous people around the earth are suffering due to lack of information, due to a lack of a lot of resources and things of that nature. And how we tie that back into the conversation is that, if we're going to start talking about what's destroying the black community, I think we really should start digging a little bit deeper and getting away from putting the blame on just one thing, which would probably be a minor source of agitation for our community. Hip hop saying that it's trash in the community. Well, what about the lack of education? What about the lack of health care? You know, what about the lack of traditional ideals based on our ancestral heritage, right? We don't have our ancestral heritage, so we don't have our traditions, right? So we act in the ways that others whom we're around, other cultures would influence us to act, right? So um, that's a whole nother conversation. But
Right.
if our people are living in environments that are detrimental to them, then how do you expect them to respond? A lot of us would say that hip hop is the voice of those people, right? So it is it's art, right? To a lot of people that is just simply demonstrating what's going on around the people that are listening to it. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, is there some brainwashing going on? Hey, man, I guess people have to figure that out for themselves. Is it their environment, that's causing them to really act out and do the things that they're doing? I know I came up without a father. That made me very uh, uh, confused at points. That made me very upset at points. A lot of that drove some of my frustration and put me, I think, in some circles that I may not have been in if I had been more emotionally stable as a young man at that time. And I can speak on these things now based on experience, you know, but nobody, I definitely can't say anybody put any guns in my hand. I can definitely say nobody, forced me to harm anybody or take anything from anybody. I can definitely say nobody forced me to make a living, at the detriment of other people, you know. But I can say for sure that what I was feeling inside of me definitely did not encourage me to do the opposite.
I always like your perspective, man, because I could have one perspective about this thing, and you could come and provide a different perspective or make me look at it differently by bringing up something that might be the root of the problem, as opposed to the question that was posed. The question that was posed is a multi-layered question, but it makes you dig deeper into the things that could really be the determining factor of if this is going good or bad. I appreciate your perspective 100%. Like I said, this conversation is going to be ongoing because it's not like we're going to be able to talk about this once and then talk about everything, because it's even going to be some stuff that we probably forgot to mention that has a part to play in this as well. Um, I saw the reason why I made this a topic of conversation is because I saw a number of people already discussing it. And a couple of people made sense as to why they felt this way. And then I started thinking about what I had been saying pretty much since music had changed, but realizing that I was looking at it from an artistic standpoint and not a is this bettering the community standpoint. The bettering the community standpoint didn't really come into play until later. And then by this point, I'm a father. I have a son. Me and his mother had a conversation, a great conversation. Matter of fact, before I even start telling this story, I want to say a shout out to her for having this conversation with me. She called me one day and she said, "Hey, look, I don't want our son listening to this, and I don't want our son watching this, or this." And I said, "You
Wow,
know what?
that's
I
deep.
agree. I agree 110%, because when he's with me, he's not going to listen to this. He's not going to watch this, or this." And we both came to a common understanding that it's a lot of stuff that's put in front of children's eyes that's not meant for children. It's a bunch of
Wow,
stuff that's put in children's ears that are not meant for children.
wow,
Our son will not be influenced, coerced, brainwashed, or set up for an agenda. No, it's not happening. You know what I'm saying? If that means he has to stay in the house and play on his phone Roblox all day to avoid this catastrophe that's going on outside my doors, so be it. You know what I'm saying? And to anybody out there with children, hey, if you do the same, I would not feel bad for you. I would not feel bad for you, because it's a lot of stuff and that's something else that we're not, because we're grown and we make our own decisions, and whatever we choose is what we choose. But now a big part of this is children, because children are not allowed to stay in a child's place in this day and age. There was a time where children was not allowed in a room where adults were speaking and conversating amongst themselves. That's when a child goes off in the room and plays, or a child goes outside and plays. Now it's different. So, and they uh being put in situations that are too big for their britches because they are children. Children should not know the words to WAP. Children should not know the words to songs talking about killing black people. I'm just being honest. But this is a reality.
all I want my kids to be singing is "I know I am,
Right.
I know I can." You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Be what I
Right.
want to be. If I work hard
Right.
at it, I'll be what I want to be, right? So
Absolutely.
that's what I need. I need the kids. I need the kids reciting Nas. Um, I need the kids, reciting, uh, 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 all the positive messages that they can get a hold of. You know, for sure, for sure. For sure, for sure. We definitely missed out on some of those things. I think as kids, but hey, man, here we are as adults, and we got the opportunity to pass on, some real information and real experiences with potentially younger folks. So, man, it's peace and love over here for sure, for sure.
Man, before we get up out of here, would you like to give anybody any shouts out before we leave?
Oh man, I could probably shout out forever, but I definitely want to shout out to Cheedy on the Cheedy brand. Henry R. Smith and the Henry R. Smith brand. They're doing wonderful things over at Cheedy. Cheedy is Swahili, and it's all about representing God and your perspective on that. So check them out at cheaty.com. I definitely want to shout out to Alive and Free and T Matthews and everything big that he's doing over there with the Alive and Free franchise. Everybody in my circle is really, really going hard right now. Shout out to Playmaker and the brand. Shout out to One Man Records. You know, um, shout out to the Pear Orchard. Shout outs to the North Side, South Park, Beaumont, Texas. Always, man. Again, I can go on and on and on, but it's love, and I hope I'm back on the show. Sooner than later. To spread some good energy.
Oh yeah, man. We know we definitely got to do this again. But as always, my people imparting peace and love because that's what the world need right now. Peace and love, man.